Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with the weekly comic book roundup. We've covered this week's X-Men books. Now it's on to this week's Avengers books, and well, Thunderbolts too. It counts. Kicking things off, we've got Ant-Man #2. Where we left off, the Ant-Man of the future had recruited Hank Pym from early in his superhero career to help against an undisclosed threat. Also making an appearance was Eric O'Grady and Scott Lang. This issue focuses on Eric O'Grady, the irredeemable Ant-Man, and is narrated by an ant, as apparently during the irredeemable Ant-Man book from Marvel time 6 years ago. Like I said, it's narrated by an ant. The ant that narrated Irredeemable Ant-Man was this ant's distant ancestor. So this takes place shortly after I want to say the events of Irredeemable Ant-Man #1. Eric O'Grady had stolen the suit and left S.H.I.E.L.D. and it had also apparently burned the face off of a fellow S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. One other thing to note is that this takes place between Civil War and Secret Invasion. So, Hank Pym, at least the Hank Pym that's running around, is actually a Skrull at this point. So, O'Grady's trying to figure out what to do, how to get more Pym particles, and then apparently the suit's systems are voice activated, and he ends up. So there was another Ant-Man who's dead. Which, well, yeah, that's even better. That's even better news for Eric. Hank Pym is being interrogated about the theft of his suit by, or is not interrogated, but more briefed by, at the moment, S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Maria Hill about the theft of the prototype suit, and trying to figure out if O'Grady may have discovered the Skrull tech that was utilized to make the suit work. But so yeah, O'Grady goes to Scott Lang's grave, summons some ants to dig Scott up when the Ant-Man from the future arrives, talks some with O'Grady, explaining, hey, I can't tell you anything earth-shattering, but he at least finds out how Lost ends, or well, maybe not so much how it ends, but at least through the end of the third season, maybe. But then, Ant-Man shows up. Hank Pym. They duke it out, and while doing so, Skrull Pym realizes that, O'Grady's an idiot. Apparently, all he really had to do is just, say, make any more Pym particles, and the suit would make him make synthetic Pym particles for him, which it does. The ants aren't too fond of how O'Grady runs the kind of boss O'Grady is. Like I said, Pym and O'Grady duke it out when O'Grady is whisked away to the future by the future Ant-Man, who is apparently alongside along with Hank Pym, has been defeated by the unknown threat, by the undisclosed threat, which is reaching for O'Grady as the issue ends. Honestly, fun book. I'm enjoying the miniseries. I think I mainly was interested in the first place because I got a soft spot for Scott Lang. But yeah, so far fun stuff. I don't. My main exposure to Irredeemable Ant-Man was briefly during Dark Reign and equally briefly during the Heroic Age. But anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Iron Fist, number 5. Where we left off, Lin Lei was reunited with his brother Lin Feng, who is apparently trying to bring the Dark Destroyer Chio back to the land of the living. But Lin Lei is contacted by the immortal dragon Shulao of Kunlun. I'm not sure how one actually pronounces that, but yeah. Apparently, Shulao chose Lin Lei. And basically, trying to tell hey, stop trying to decide. Stop trying to. You don't have to pick between two paths. You can just go. You can be both Swordmaster and Iron Fist. But Lin Lei's mother tries to say that he wants to bring Chi the Destroyer back from the dead to destroy it. But he felt the destruction of the sword, but with all the death and destruction that Lin Feng has caused, Lin Lei decides that there's no coming. At the very least, that's not that's not one of those. Oh well, your heart was in the right place. That's more of a no. You screwed up big, and there are consequences for that. But Lin Feng gets loose, and Lin Lei accepts his role as the Iron Fist, and the sword shards reforge the sword coming out of his arm. The warriors of Kunlun then attack, pouring out of the portal to Kunlun. But it turns out that that was kind of what Lin Feng was hoping for. But yeah, the warriors of Kunlun were contacted by Danny Rand. And so Lin Feng enters Kunlun and shuts the portal behind him. But Lin Lei accepts Danny's offer to be, to basically be his mentee. And the plan is they're going to, retake Kunlun. Later, Loki arrives at Kunlun. He talks with Lin Feng. He's rather impressed that Lin Feng was able to take over Kunlun. But Lin Feng explains the reason he wanted to do so. The third and final tomb of Chio is in Kunlun, so he says he'll raise the whole city to find it, which he's trying to do. The story will then be continued in AXE Iron Fist. That is where the issue ends. I think that's also the last issue of the miniseries. I think this was a 5-issue mini. So, anyway, but good stuff. I like Swordmaster as the new Iron Fist. It's also said that he's going to be attempting to work go to others for assistance, including White Fox and Shang-Chi. Moving on to our next book, we've got Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood number 4. I do believe wraps up the miniseries. As per usual, we got 3 stories. Good Morning by Christopher Cantwell and Alex Linz. The Scent of Blood by Nadia Shamas, Dante Bastianoni, and Chris Sotomayor. And Born to Be by Paul Azaceta. So in Good Morning, Moon Knight kind of explains what every night for him is like. It's like he's playing a game. There are tons of X's, and the whole thing is he has to get through each X to get to the circle. Every time he comes to an X, he fights what comes up. You see him fighting Bushman, then Shadow Knight. He seems to end up in the circle, and Cap, Spider-Man, Wolverine come to say, hey, so, but then the circle turns into an X, and so Moon Knight's got to deal with Cap, Spidey, and Wolverine. But it's explained the last X before the circle is basically controlled by the player himself. And as the moon sets, he usually looks up to and see if Khonshu is pleased. And the story ends with Tiger waking him up, which brings us to our next story, The Scent of Blood. Moon Knight interrupts a sacrifice about to be carried out by a group of cultists seeking to resurrect the god Shesmu. When he wakes up, while fighting them, he blacks out and comes to a motel. Washes his costume. The sky. Something's wrong though. There's a gas around him, and he seems to be. And he's approached by Shesmu, who's decided he wants to, make Mark his prophet. They duke it out, and so turns out Mark had the various oils and whatnot. Since he spilled blood on the altar and mixed with some of the oils, yeah. But Mark stabs himself right quick and then takes on the cultists, which is where the story ends. Then we have Born to Be. A cat is meowing loudly outside Mark's window. It's a Jake Lockley day, so he's driving a cab. Picks up a fare who calls him, who knows he's Mark. Turns out to be a giant red cat that claims to be the cure. And it's also another nightmare. But that red cat is not normal size and in Mark's apartment, saying he is the cure. Khonshu sends Moon Knight after a few relic thieves, a cult to Bastet. They're performing a ritual. The cat gets giant size and attacks Mark, and he defeats it. But there's still a stray cat that's there, which Mark seems to decide to take care of. And that is where the series ends. This was a really good miniseries. As I've said on multiple occasions throughout this, I've liked all. I have liked all of the Black, White, and Blood minis. I may have liked some more than others, and I may have liked one in particular significantly less than the others. But still, it's been a fun batch of minis, and I hope that they can find someone else to focus went on. I can think of a certain heavily armed vigilante that might work well for a Black, White, and Blood miniseries. Except to see if Marvel's willing to do one. Moving on to our next book, we've got The Variants, number 3. Where we left off, Jess had been fighting the Variants and had asked She-Hulk to come over and make sure that she doesn't, do anything that would hurt her, do anything to potentially go after and hurt her husband and daughter. And she found, in her daughter, she found a variant of herself that was still Jewel. But she's having a migraine, and Jewel and Jessica discuss things with some coffee. Turns out that this variant never had to deal with Kilgrave. But we find out that the Jess that kissed Daredevil is one of the variants. Also, Iron Fist is called in for to help with taking care of the variants if need be. But all the variants have to get together in a coffee shop. Stomping Ground is the one that Jessica saved earlier. Not Hammerhead is trying to once again shake down the owner, but he's brought a strong man. But then the four Jessicas show up, and he doesn't want to deal with 4 Jessica. He already got messed up by 1. 4, that's a bit much. So they all kind of discuss things about themselves. And it turns out that the one who's best off is likely 616 Jessica, with having a family still. The others, Cap, Jessica states that Ultron killed her significant other. The one that kissed Daredevil lost Daredevil to the Stilt Woman. Jewel lost someone to Condor Man. But we also get it turns out, with the exception of Jewel, they've all had to deal with Kilgrave. But she tells the whole story about Maria Snyder, the story of Maria Snyder as well. But elsewhere, Danny's playing Pokemon with Misty Knight, but Luke's got to take care of something, heads down the elevator. The guy gets on. A guy named Jesse. Actually manages to knock Cage pretty well with a pretty solid hit. A few solid hits, actually. But Cage and Jesse leap out of the building. When the bill arrives for the coffee, a massive note on it is written on it: "Don't trust them." But Jesse manages to immolate himself while apologizing to Luke Cage. Apparently, the attack on Luke Cage was a ruse to get him away from his daughter, Danielle. And that is where the issue ends. This book is definitely getting interesting, and I'm glad to see that it was one of the variants that kissed Daredevil. Makes it a little more palatable to see. Moving on to our last book for the book, we got Thunderbolts #1, and we got a nifty looking variant, which you can spy in the thumbnail as well. So where we last saw a team of Thunderbolts was during Devil's Reign. They were, well, fists and enforcers. And Luke Cage has decided he's going to keep the Thunderbolts around, but not as basically, a goon squad. They'll be dealing with superpowered threats on a legal, on the legal up and up. But he needs, well, a team. The leadership position was offered to Monica Rambeau, but she turned it down. And so the suggestion was made to recruit Hawkeye for the position. Hawkeye is doing some practicing, and then calls Wonder Man, talking about getting West Coast Avengers together. But then he gets a call from Luke Cage, seeing if he offering him leadership of the Thunderbolts. The lineup consisting of himself, Persuasion, Power Man, American Chavez, and Guts and Glory, who looks like, well, the dollar store knockoff of Cable. But Fist's Thunderbolts are loose and trying to basically trying to get themselves, really trying to aggressively negotiate for their release. But turns out the way the Thunderbolts being put together is just as much casting as it is putting together a super team. But Thunderbolts take down the older Thunderbolts. Blonsky's among the escapees, and Persuasion is the one that manages to take him down. Well, Guts and Glory goes after him first, but is promptly taken down by Abomination. So then Persuasion goes and tells Abomination to punch himself in the junk a handful of times. Also, we find out that Persuasion is a Yankees fan. Well, Clint, however, is a Mets fan, which means he's not a Yankees fan, so we're still boys. Both Sox, baby. But Clint then takes down U.S. Agent, getting, basically giving a solid beating. Something he's been thinking about doing for a good long while. Then Electro shows up, but Monica Rambeau is able to turn off her powers, and one of the buildings they were fighting near falls to the ground. Mayor Cage gives Luke a bit of a reaming. Like, he wasn't supposed to attack U.S. Agent. In fact, U.S. Agent was part of their police escort, the Thunderbolts' police escort. But somehow Clint didn't hear it. And he's trying to make things work. Once again, Luke then makes another offer to Monica Rambeau to be on the team. Maybe not necessarily the leader, but a member of the team. Later, at the Thunderbolts headquarters, something seemingly goes wonky with Guts and Glory, and it turns out that American Chavez's star portal power is a bit on the fritz. And there's some mysterious mirror-related villain that has taken an interest in Clint. And that is where the issue ends. A solid first issue, good setup. This is just a mini-series, 5 or 6 issues I want to say. So, but yeah, I always love me a good Thunderbolts book. So Anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.